Asbestos is a naturally occurring fibre that's been used for thousands of years. For many years it was seen as being an absolutely brilliant insulator, and it was used in all sorts of different manufacturing fields.
When people were working with asbestos, they didn't appreciate the dangers of working with it. If fibres were inhaled into the lungs, it could cause serious respiratory conditions such as pleural plaques, pleural thickening, asbestosis or mesothelioma or lung cancer.
Unfortunately, from 1930 onwards, it was quite clear a number of medical and government reports were produced advising about the dangers of working with asbestos and the fact that very low levels of inhalation can cause quite significant respiratory problems.
Just because you might well have worked with asbestos does not mean you're necessarily going to develop asbestosis. But you know, usually there will be telltale signs there that you might have difficulty with your breathing.
There are a number of different conditions that can develop from asbestos exposure, quite often after a latency period of 30 or 40 years.
And now, and typically most of the cases that I deal with are people who've worked with asbestos in the 60s, and early 70s, who are now only just starting to experience the effects of the asbestos fibres entering their lungs.
It might well be that you worked maybe 20, 30 years ago in an industry that involved you moving and packaging that might have had asbestos in the walls or in the flooring, and it might have been a dusty environment to work in.
We often find with clients that the major difficulties are when they were working with it, quite often unprotected, without any breathing protection, in the 1960s and 70s, and they breathed it in quite often for a number of hours a day, which has unfortunately led to quite significant problems for them.
Most of the population at some point has been around asbestos. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're then going to develop asbestosis. Each case is individual.
On a number of occasions we're instructed by clients and the companies that they work for example in the 60s or the 70s are no longer in existence. That in itself isn't a major problem and shouldn't put a client off in getting in touch with us.
What you need to understand is, although a company may no longer exist, if they had insurance at the time, the insurance company who insured them will still have to honour any claim that we can establish.
If an individual has historically been exposed to asbestos and they've within the past 3 years been diagnosed with an asbestos related condition, they should have no hesitation in getting in touch, and I will happily speak to them to see whether there's anything that we can do for them.